When he talks, to me, he doesn't come off as self-hating or trying to distance himself from his black phenotype, okay? When Waka Flocka spoke, it didn't come off as genuine. It didn't come off as researched. It didn't come off, as anything other than him trying to sound fake deep, fake woke.
They just gonna re-educate us. This is why our grandmothers tell us, "Oh no, baby, we got Cherokeans."
Yep.
Right? Every one of our grandparents.
Everybody's grandparents said that back in the day.
Everybody. But education taught us, they trying to be something they not.
We thought it was a joke. Man, get the fuck out.
We ignore grandma. We want the white man to tell us what we are.
That actually woke me up.
I gathered here today to sip some tea, honey. So make sure you guys have your teacups ready because this tea is what? Piping hot. Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing good. So I want to come on here and spill some tea. A lot of you guys have been wanting me to talk about the whole Waka Flocka flame situation. So if you guys don't know, back on Friday, he sparked this huge racial debate online when he proudly declared on the Sway Show that he has 0 African blood in him and that he does not consider himself black, that he considers himself Native American. So this caused a bunch of backlash. I want you guys to go ahead and watch the initial video right here. Check this out.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even kneeling to that flag, like, I have no African descendant in my blood. I'm a Native American. So, literally, I'm a Cherokee, I'm a Blackfoot, I'm a Red-tailed Indian. That's what's in my blood. And the other is mixed European. And for somebody to say and tell me not to kneel, you crazy. Like, y'all crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people in America is indigenous people. You're not from Africa. But that's a whole nother conversation. Like, that's crazy, man. For you to tell somebody, like, yo, stand up to this flag.
All right, so you guys just saw that video. Well, looky. As of today, fake woke Waka Flocka is coming out and he's basically trying to explain himself and tell folks what he meant. So he took to Instagram to post the following. He says, instead of judging me, ask yourself why. Why Waka's ghetto ass talking like this? Why Waka saying all this woke shit? Why Trump not? Why the media ignore real issues? Why we support XYZ? We all have to fix ourselves to see the real problem. Have a blessed one. Then he goes on to say, I'm living in the spirit. I wish Dick Gregory was alive. All I want is for us to do is think. Tradition is truth. As human, we could never like this thing we don't understand. I talk from experience, but he says, I've been around the world and my community ain't the only one struggling. We just the focus. I stand by my words. I'm not black. I told y'all from the beginning of my rap career, I'm not rapping to be the best. I rap to be the realest that ever did it. We are all slaves. It's just my community was tortured. So once again, welcome to the woke Waka Flocka. Let me go ahead and play you guys the video of him further explaining himself. Check this out.
Man, I be seeing y'all going crazy with the shit I've been saying on Sway. Niggas be like, yo, Waka said he not black. You're right, I'm not the black America call me, and it's just hard for a nigga to be from the slums, the ghetto, the hood, whatever. Niggas want to say we from, and then when you become this celebrity, you get to walk around the world, get to travel around the world, you get to touch the people, and you get to find out the truth. And then when you get back home, what you call America, and you start telling the truth, the people you see that's in your community that's still plugged in the matrix and still trapped into what society tells you is reality. And you know it's not reality. You know it's not the truth, and it's hard to explain it because you truly learning still. You truly just experiencing false statements and false lifestyles. And it's hard to explain. But just know, my nigga, like, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't the black America side, you know? Get the fuck out the matrix, y'all.
All right, so you guys just saw Waka Flocka's explanation. So like I said, a lot of y'all want to know my opinions on this. And this entire situation is comical to me. You know, him like Bow Wow, what I find funny is that when they first came out, they were black than a mofo. Now all of a sudden they're not black. Bow Wow now claims to be biracial, even though his father is clearly black. Now Waka Flocka is claiming to be a native. My thing is, why didn't y'all let this be known when y'all first came out? And if you're not black, then why are you performing black music? If you're not black, why are you using words like nigga? I mean, wouldn't that make it racist if you're a Native American dropping those N-bombs? I'm just saying. And another thing that bothered me is why even reference Dick Gregory? You know, keep him out of your fuckery. If you mean and you can stand by what you say, then just stand by your words. No need to reference the greats. No need to drag them into your fuckery. You know, so I just find that funny that he tried to throw Dick Gregory in there as if that's supposed to solidify everything he's saying. The problem with his original statement that bothered a lot of people is that he's saying that he has no African blood in him. But when I look at his features, everything from his hair texture to his big full lips, his features do not scream Native American.
Most of us are of African descent as well as Native American. The difference is the African descent gives us no inheritance on this side of the Atlantic. So they want us to identify solely with the African perspective of us. But we inherit both kingdoms if we are descendants of both nations, of both people on both sides of the river. The Great River, I should say. So it's just a few important things that if we just look beyond what they tell us and start to search from a different perspective, not being the victim perspective or not being a perspective of being slaves brought here. When we start looking at it from another perspective, and that would be the Native American perspective, you're going to find a lot of information that has been withheld from you.
You know, I find it funny that he's so quick to big up his so-called Native American side, but completely denounce his African roots, which he clearly has by looking at his phenotype. He clearly looks more African American than he does Native.
They don't teach us this because they want to separate us from both sides of our family.
And one thing I do notice with people like Waka Flocka is that they like to romanticize Indian culture, as if certain Indian tribes never held slaves, never worked with the government to keep black people as slaves, never killed black folks. Now, am I saying that all Indian tribes did this? Of course not. But there were some Indian tribes that were very complicit with keeping black people in slavery. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this snippet. Check this out.
Well, yes, and see, it started at one of the first treaties was the New York Treaty about 1516 that came in. That was one of the first treaties. But in every one of those treaties that they set up with the Indians, they put an inclusion in there saying this, that if you were to cooperate with us and be able to help us maintain the slavery system we set up in this country, you know, and we will reward you and compensate you. We'll give you clothing, we'll give you food, we'll give you weapons, you know, and we'll even call you civilized if you will help us maintain slavery. Every treaty contained a clause to help Indians to shut down black folk. Slavery could never have existed in this country and been maintained without the full participation of the American tribes. That's why they started calling them civilized, Rock, because they began to say, you quit hunting in the woods and running wild and get yourself some land and get yourself some slaves. So Indians became slave hunters, slave traders, and in the final analysis, all civilized tribes, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, they all fought with the South to maintain slavery.
All right, so you guys just saw that snippet of Dr. Claude Anderson on the Rock Newman show. So he's showing there where, you know, some Indian tribes were complicit. But on the flip note, I also want to show another tribe that was not complicit and that they did help black people and freed slaves and things like that. So go ahead and check out this particular tribe here. I think it's very important to showcase everything, and let's not romanticize history. Let's put the facts out there on both halves.
It's a nice name. I'm happy to see it there.
I come from a black man who only had one name. His name was Peter. He was not a slave. He was a sea captain who had his own boat and was in the whaling industry. He married a native woman in Martha's Vineyard, my however many greats grandmother, and that whole family line after them bears his single name as their last name. We as a people did stand behind freedmen and escaped slaves after the Dred Scott decision and put out a proclamation to let people know that they could find a safe refuge amongst our people.
They were welcoming of outsiders because their definition of Indianness didn't have to do with color. It had to do with whether you were really a member of the community or not. So children who had mixed ancestry parents were fully welcomed into these communities. And this was something that was hard for whites to understand, that somebody from a very complex, racially mixed background could be fully Indian, that was a really hard concept for scholars.
You know, so like I said, this whole spectrum is very, very deep. Waka Flocka was just not the person to elaborate this out. And that's the problem. A lot of these celebrities, you know, they get a little bit of knowledge, they hear a little bit of this and that, and so many people in their ear, then they think they can regurgitate all the stuff that they heard from this person or that person, so that way they can seem more deep and more woke, and it always ends up in disaster. I think Waka is really silly that he's so quick to claim Native, and he's proud to claim that, but he's going to denounce his African roots and not want to have anything to do with that. You know, he's starting to sound like one of those crazy ass hood boogers who just sit on the corner all day, you know, talking about how woke they are and how they're sovereign and all this shit. I really think that what he's trying to say by clearing up his statement, what he meant basically is that he feels like he's a Native American, meaning his roots are native to America and not Africa. There's a section of the population that claims that black folks were here before the Native Americans and that white people let them out of the history books. So I feel like that's where Waka is going with all of this. He's just not articulate enough to state what he meant, and now he's trying to backtrack. I remember I ran across this interview a year or so ago, and it's of this black guy. Well, he looks black, but he says he's Native, and he's basically talking about his family lineage. And he was dropping a lot of knowledge, and I feel like maybe Waka ran across this video too. I don't know. But I feel like this is what Waka was trying to say. But again, that's the problem when you're trying to be fake deep and you're trying to, you know, get on a radio station and talk about all this knowledge that you're hearing secondhand, as opposed to really doing your own research and investigating and finding out your own family heritage. Look at the difference on how Waka Flocka spoke on that interview versus how this young man speaks and breaks it down with why he believes he's a Native American. Check this out.
And the land he owned, my family owned, is what you would call the Jersey Shore. Now, anybody who knows anything about real estate knows what the Jersey Shore is worth. That beachfront property, all that shit. Like, every one of my family should be trust fund babies. We should be shitting on Paris Hilton and all them. You understand? But that land was stolen from us because of the identity that we assumed. And by assuming this identity, we lost all our rights as the...
Elaborate, assume. What identity did y'all assume?
We assumed the identity. First, it was free people of color, right? From free people of color, it became colored. From colored, it became black. From black, it became Negro. See what I'm saying? Now, the inheritance was left to the people who had treaties with these Europeans, right? So, as a Negro, I'm entitled to none of this shit. As Lenape, you got to pay me. See the difference? So, rather than kill us all off, they just gonna re-educate us. This is why our grandmothers tell us, "Oh no, baby, we got Cherokee in us." Right? Every one of our grandparents.
Everybody's grandparents said that back in the day. Everybody. Yeah.
But education taught us, oh, they trying to be something they not.
We did. We thought it was a joke. Like, man, get the fuck out of here. We ain't know. Like,
we ain't that.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just crazy, but I'm not surprised. It's just really sad that when a lot of these celebrities, you know, get to travel outside of the hood and they get to jet set and see new things, the first thing they want to do is kind of shy away or distance themselves from their blackness. There's definitely nothing wrong with being proud of your African heritage or your African roots. There's nothing wrong with being proud to be an African American. And I think for him to be so boastful and so proud to say that he's Native American, you know, it just came off as just a slap in the face to a lot of people. I think what he was initially trying to say, but it came out wrong, is that he's a black person who's native to America. But again, that's what happens when people pretend to be fake woke and they just misconstrue a bunch of words, and then when it comes out their mouth, it just sounds like a bunch of just bullshit and rhetoric. So do you guys notice the difference between when that man spoke about his heritage? You can tell that he's well-researched, well-read. He has a connection to not only his Indian culture, but his lineage. And he's just very, very articulate. He broke it down in the best way that he could. So when he talks, to me, he doesn't come off as self-hating or trying to distance himself from his black phenotype, okay? When Waka Flocka spoke, it didn't come off as genuine. It didn't come off as researched. It didn't come off, is anything other than him trying to sound fake deep, fake woke. That's the difference, and that's why a lot of people are not taking him seriously. And also the other young gentleman who spoke about his Indian heritage, not one time did he disrespect black people, African people. He didn't say, I'm not black. He didn't, denounce African culture. He didn't do any of that. But Waka Flocka was so quick to say, even today in his post, I'm not black. I don't have any African in me.
It's hard to explain it because you truly learning still. You truly just experiencing false statements and false lifestyles. And it's hard to explain.
So I just kind of feel like that was kind of a slap in the face. Even if you want to acknowledge your Native American side or say that you're one of those black people who got help from one of those native tribes, that's fine. But again, when Waka Flocka speaks, it doesn't sound well researched. It doesn't sound like he really investigated any of this. It just sounds like he's just trying to be fake deep. And that's the vibe that I got. And I think that's why a lot of people were annoyed. You know what I'm saying? You can love yourself and embrace all aspects of yourself without denouncing or disrespecting other aspects of yourself. And clearly, when you look at Waka Flocka, he clearly has black and Africanoid features, okay? Let's keep it all the way 100. He can scream that he's Native and European all he wants to, but when you look at him, and I'm sure when the police look at him, they see nothing more than a black man. So anyways, y'all, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. What do you guys think about Waka Flocka's revelations? And how do you feel about even the words that he wrote today, saying that he stands by his words, that he's not black? I wonder if the police see him as anything other than a black man.
You truly learning still. You truly just experiencing false statements and false lifestyles. And it's hard to explain.
But that's a whole nother video. Deuces. So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that like button. And make sure you click that bell so you can be down with the notification squad, honey. So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right. Deuces.